He called my dog good riddance, minutes after he lured him into traffic. My daughter just watched, nodding along. They thought the old mechanic was broken. They were about to find out I still knew how to dismantle an engine, piece by piece. If you're listening to this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It helps to know I'm not alone. It all started 6 months ago, on the day my world began to crumble. The day my daughter got married, the champagne flute felt cold in my hand. Bubbles rose, tiny sparks of excitement I couldn't feel. The ballroom was loud. Music, laughter, the clinking of glasses. My daughter Emily was beautiful, a vision in white lace. She looked just like her mother, Susan. Her eyes were locked on Kevin, the man she had just promised her life to. I watched them dance, and a chill snaked down my spine. Something felt off, terribly off. I raised my glass. The weight of the moment settled heavy in my chest. To Emily and Kevin, I announced. My smile felt tight, unnatural. May your future be built on a foundation stronger than any I've ever laid. The crowd cheered. Kevin flashed his smile. Perfectly white teeth. Practiced charm. He was handsome. I couldn't deny that. But I've owned Harrison's garage for 30 years. I know the difference between a shiny paint job and a solid engine. And Kevin sounded like he was running on fumes. He appeared suddenly 6 months ago. Expensive suits. Big promises about investments. An intensity that captivated Emily. He looked at her with affection, but when he looked at me, when he talked about my garage, the business I built with my own grease-stained hands, his eyes turned sharp, calculating. He wasn't looking at family. He was looking at a balance sheet. And I was just an asset to be liquidated. The wedding was extravagant. Kevin insisted on the best. I couldn't say no to Emily. I dipped deep into my retirement fund. I told myself it was worth it. Her happiness was everything, but the unease wouldn't leave me. It hummed under the surface, like a bearing about to seize. I kept telling myself it was just grief, just the loneliness, since Susan passed. I was lying to myself. Mark, my business partner and oldest friend, nudged me. He always chewed on a toothpick when he was nervous. Relax, Robert. She looks happy. I know, I said, watching Kevin work the room like a politician. Shaking hands, slapping backs, but happiness doesn't always pay the bills, Mark. Mark chuckled, but it sounded forced. You always look for the leak, don't you? Always. I just didn't realize how fast the flood was coming. 3 weeks later, they were back from their honeymoon, tanned and glowing. We were having dinner at my place. The house Emily grew up in. The house Susan had filled with warmth before she passed 2 years ago. It was a sturdy old Victorian, a little worn around the edges, but it was home. It was all I had left of her, and they were about to try and take it away. The air in the dining room felt heavy. They kept exchanging glances. Kevin kept checking his watch. I knew something was coming. I braced myself for the impact. Kevin cleared the plates. Playing the helpful son-in-law, he stacked them slowly, deliberately, stalling. The silence stretched, broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Robert, he began casually, Emily tells me you've been struggling with the upkeep here. Here's word of the grief, the exhaustion. The house felt too big, too quiet. I'm managing, I said defensively. Dad, you're not, Emily chimed in. Her brow furrowed. It looked like concern, but her eyes darted to Kevin. She twisted the massive diamond ring on her finger. A nervous habit. The roof needs work. The taxes are high. And the garage, it's draining you. My hands clenched under the table. The garage wasn't draining me. It was keeping me alive. The smell of oil and steel kept me grounded. They didn't understand. Or maybe they didn't care. Kevin leaned forward, his voice smooth as motor oil. That garage is a landmark, Robert. I respect that, he lied. But you need to think about the future. Your health comes first. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. A calculated silence. It's time to maximize your assets. This house is worth a fortune in the current market. The neighborhood is booming. Maximize my assets. I asked. The phrase felt cold, clinical, like I was a machine to be optimized. What does that mean exactly, Kevin? It means downsizing, Kevin said, spreading his hands wide. A gesture of simplicity. Selling this place, selling the garage, and investing the profits. He smiled. That perfect, hollow smile. I have connections, Robert. Real estate development. I can double your money in 2 years. Guaranteed. You can retire properly. Travel, relax, enjoy your golden years. He painted a picture of a life I didn't want, a life without purpose, a gilded cage. Emily looked so hopeful, so convinced. Kevin had sold her the dream. Please, Dad, for me, she pleaded. I don't want to worry about you rattling around in this old house alone. It's too much for you. My instinct screamed at me. This was my home, my life's work, but seeing Emily's face weakened my resolve. Maybe I was being a stubborn old man. Maybe I was clinging to the past. But the thought of selling everything felt like tearing out my own wiring. I need time to think about it, I said, my voice tight. This is a big decision. Kevin's smile didn't reach his eyes. Of course, Robert. Take your time. He checked his expensive watch again. But the market is hot right now. We don't want to miss the opportunity. Timing is everything. They left. The silence in the house felt different now. It felt dangerous. I hadn't just been asked to sell my house. I had been targeted. And the hunt had begun. The pressure didn't stop. It became a constant hum, a low-frequency vibration that rattled my nerves. Kevin started sending me listings for small condos, sterile boxes with beige walls. He talked about simplified living, turnkey solutions. He was trying to erase my past, to pave over my memories, to put me in a box and forget about me. And Emily was helping him. Then I noticed things missing. Little things at first. A bank statement from my desk drawer. I thought maybe I was getting forgetful. Grief does that to you. It fogs the mind. But then I checked the fireproof safe in my study. The old combination safe. Susan bought me for our anniversary. The door was slightly ajar. My blood ran cold. I always lock that safe. Always. I checked the contents. The folder containing the deed to the house was gone. The insurance papers, my will, gone. The feeling of violation was overwhelming. Someone had been in my private space. Someone had stolen my life. And I knew exactly who it was. I couldn't look at Emily. Who? I couldn't ask her if she gave him the combination. Because if she did, it meant she was choosing him over me. It meant she was part of the betrayal. I wasn't ready for that truth. Not yet. I called Mark. I stood in the garage, the smell of gasoline filling my lungs. Mark, I need you to look into someone, I said, the words tasting like battery acid. My son-in-law, Kevin. Mark didn't hesitate. He didn't ask why. He just said, give me his full name and date of birth. I did. What's he done, Robert? Mark asked, his voice low and serious. I'm not sure yet, I said, rubbing the grease stain on my jeans. A nervous habit. But something's rattling under the hood, Mark. And I don't like the sound of it. I don't like it at all. Mark was thorough. He always was. He used to work in insurance fraud before we opened the garage. He knew how to dig up dirt. He knew where the bodies were buried. 2 days passed. Agonizing days of waiting, of pretending everything was normal, of smiling at Emily while wondering if she was lying to my face. Then Mark called me back. It was late. You need to sit down, Robert, he said. His voice was grim. I sat in my study, surrounded by photos of Emily growing up. First steps, first bike ride, graduation, wedding day, a lifetime of memories. I'm sitting. Kevin's broke, Mark said flatly. No sugarcoating. Worse than broke. He's drowning. The details spilled out. Credit cards maxed out. 2 failed business ventures in the last 3 years. A string of lawsuits from angry investors. And he owes money, Robert, Mark added, his voice dropping low. A lot of money to some very impatient people. The kind of people you don't want to mess with. His investment firm? Smoke and mirrors, Mark confirmed. Just a P.O. box and a fancy website. There are no assets, no investments, just debt. The pieces clicked into place. The lavish wedding I paid for, the expensive suits, the talk of maximizing assets, The urgency. Kevin hadn't married Emily because he loved her. He married her because she was a means to an end. He had married my bank account, my house, my life. He wasn't a savior. He was a parasite. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I felt sick, nauseous, violated, betrayed. But worse than that, I felt like a fool. My daughter was married to a con artist, and I had paid for the wedding. I thought that was the worst of it. But the real betrayal was still waiting in the shadows. The next Sunday they came for dinner. I cooked a roast, Susan's recipe. The smell filled the house, a painful reminder of what I had lost. The tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. Emily was quiet. She kept twisting her ring. Kevin was charming, too charming. He complimented the food, the house. He was laying it on thick. I watched it. I knew his secret now. The mask was slipping. I could see the desperation underneath, the hunger in his eyes. After dessert, Kevin pulled an envelope from his briefcase. He always carried that briefcase, like a shield. "Robert, we need to talk seriously about the future," he said. His tone shifted, from charming to clinical. The salesman closing the deal. He slid a document across the table. It landed heavily in front of me. "As your family," he continued, the word family dripping with irony, "we want to make sure you're protected, especially if your health declines." I looked at the document. Durable power of attorney. "It's just a precaution, Dad," Emily said quickly. Too quickly. She avoided my eyes. Her voice trembled slightly. "In case something happens, so we can manage your affairs. Ensure the investments go smoothly." Investments. The lie tasted bitter on my tongue. I read the fine print. It would give Kevin total control over everything. They weren't just trying to protect me. They were trying to erase me, to sign away my life. I slid the document back across the table, slowly, deliberately. "I don't think so," I said. My voice was quiet but firm. Kevin's jaw clenched. The mask slipped again, revealing the cold steel underneath. The charm evaporated, replaced by anger. "Robert, be reasonable," he snapped. "You're not getting any younger. You're struggling. This is for your own good." "My own good seems to involve me signing away my life," I countered, meeting his gaze. My voice was low and steady. The anger was building inside me. A cold, hard knot. "The answer is no, Kevin. The answer will always be no." The argument escalated. Kevin yelled, accused me of being paranoid, selfish, ungrateful. Emily cried, begged me to trust Kevin, begged me to stop being so difficult. I stood my ground. They left. Kevin slammed the door on his way out. The sound echoed through the empty house. The windows rattled. That night, I knew I couldn't just wait for the next attack. I had to protect myself. I had to fight back. I was a mechanic. I knew how to take an engine apart and find the fault. I knew how to fix things. It was time to find the fault in Kevin's plan and dismantle it. The next morning, I went to the electronics store. I bought 4 small, high-definition security cameras. With audio record, expensive, but necessary. I installed them myself. I knew the wiring of this house better than anyone. One in my study, pointed at the desk and the safe. One in the living room, one overlooking the porch, and one in the hallway, hidden inside a smoke detector. I connected them to my laptop. I could watch everything, from anywhere. I was no longer blind. I was watching, waiting. I felt a sense of empowerment. A small victory in a losing battle, but I also felt a profound sadness. I was spying on my own daughter, in my own home. This is what it had come to. Lies, secrets, betrayal. I started compiling everything. Mark's report on Kevin's debts, copies of my bank statements, the deed to the house and my will, which I had retrieved from the safe and moved before the confrontation. I made 2 sets, evidence, proof. One went into a safety deposit box at a bank across town. A bank Kevin didn't know I used. The other I kept hidden in the garage, inside the hollow frame of an old '68 Mustang I was restoring, my sanctuary, my fortress. The smell of oil and metal was my armor. The dynamic shifted. Kevin stopped trying to persuade me. He started trying to break me. Emily became his accomplice. She chose him over me. The realization cut deep, deeper than any knife, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was seeing the stranger she had become. Emily stopped by one afternoon, her face tight with anxiety. The glow of the honeymoon was long gone. She looked tired, stressed. "Dad, Kevin's new venture needs a bridge loan," she said, wringing her hands. "Just 20,000. Just sure thing. A guaranteed return." She looked desperate. "If you don't help us, we'll lose everything." "Oh, everything." She meant her lifestyle. The expensive dinners, the designer clothes, the illusion of wealth. I refused. I told her the money was tied up. An easy excuse. Her face hardened. The sweetness vanished, replaced by resentment. She looked like Kevin. "You're just being selfish," she accused. "Kevin says you're letting your paranoia ruin our lives. He says you're losing your grip." Paranoia. They were already building the narrative. The confused old man, the incompetent father, the accusation stung. But I held firm. I knew the money would disappear into the black hole of Kevin's debt. She left without saying goodbye. The gap between us widened into a chasm. I felt the loss acutely. I hadn't just lost Susan. I was losing Emily too. The gaslighting began subtly, insidiously, designed to make me doubt my own mind. I found misplaced items. Keys in the refrigerator. My glasses in the bathroom cabinet. Bills I was sure I had paid marked as overdue. Late fees piling up. I knew Kevin was intercepting my mail. But I couldn't prove it. I started doubting myself, my memory, my sanity. That's what they wanted. To make me feel weak, helpless, vulnerable. But I had the cameras. The cameras didn't lie. Then the cold set in. It was a chilly October. The leaves were turning. The nights were drawing in. I found the thermostat turned down to 60 degrees. One cold afternoon, I was freezing. My bones ached when I asked Emily about it. She sighed impatiently, like I was a burden. "Kevin read that keeping the house cooler is healthier, Dad," she explained, dismissing my discomfort. "Besides, it saves money on heating. You're always complaining about the bills." They were chipping away at my dignity, piece by piece, trying to freeze me out of my own home. I decided to set a trap, a bait they couldn't resist. I needed undeniable proof. I needed leverage. I told Emily I was going to a classic car convention for the weekend. A lie, but a necessary one. I packed a bag, drove to a motel 2 towns over, a cheap place. Smelled like cigarettes and regret. I set up my laptop and watched my house on the screen. The stage was set. The actors were about to take their positions. They arrived an hour after I left. Like clockwork. Kevin's leased luxury sedan pulled into the driveway. I watched them enter my home. They moved with a sense of entitlement, like they already owned the place. Kevin walked straight into my study. He didn't hesitate. He knew exactly where he was going. He tried the safe. I had changed the combination. He cursed under his breath when it wouldn't open. Frustrated, angry, he started rummaging through my desk drawers, looking for documents, statements, anything he could use. But then he did something that made my blood run cold. He sat at my desk, my chair. He pulled out the checkbook I had accidentally left there. A dummy checkbook, linked to an account with $50 in it. And then I watched as he took out a notepad and began practicing my signature. Over and over. Robert J. Harrison. Robert J. Harrison. He compared it to the signature on an old invoice I had left on the desk. Methodical. Calculating. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about forgery. Identity theft. It was about erasing me completely. He wasn't just greedy. He was ruthless. He was a predator. And I had him on camera. The proof I needed. When I returned, I didn't confront him. I played the role of the oblivious old man. Tired. Defeated. But the hostility became more overt. Kevin stopped pretending to care. He treated me like an obstacle, an inconvenience, a piece of furniture to be moved. The tension escalated. We were on a collision course, and the impact was coming fast. I overheard them arguing in the kitchen. The camera picked up every word. Emily was crying. He's so stubborn, Kevin. He won't budge. He won't sign the papers. He won't even talk about selling. Kevin's voice was cold, devoid of emotion. Then we do it the hard way, Emily. We break him. Break me. How? We get him declared incompetent, Kevin continued, his voice laced with malice. I have a doctor, Dr. Thorne. He owes me a favor. He will cooperate. He will testify that your father is suffering from early onset dementia. Dr. Ayres Thorne. I knew the name, a shady doctor with a reputation for bending the rules, for the right price. Dementia. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. My own daughter was discussing how to steal my autonomy, my freedom, my mind. That realization hurt more than any financial betrayal. It was a violation of the deepest trust. A deep, aching wound. I thought it was over. I thought the pain couldn't get worse. I was wrong. If this story is gripping you, drop a like. It helps more than you know. Because what came next was pure evil. The cruelty came next. And it was aimed at the only other living creature in the house I loved unconditionally. Buster? Buster was my old golden retriever, 14 years old, slow, mostly deaf, arthritis in his hips. The gentlest soul you could ever meet. He had been my shadow since the day Susan died. He slept on the floor next to my bed. He followed me everywhere. He was my comfort, my companion in the silent house, my best friend, my last connection to Susan. Kevin hated him. He made no secret of it. The dog smells, he'd complain constantly, wrinkling his nose in disgust. He sheds everywhere. The house is filthy. He kicked Buster once when he thought I wasn't looking. I saw it on the camera, a casual cruelty that revealed his true nature. He's costing you a fortune in vet bills, Kevin argued. That arthritis medicine. It's a waste of money. It's time to let him go, Robert. It's the humane thing to do. Let him go. He meant put him down. He saw Buster as an expense, not a life, not a loyal companion. I refused. Buster was old, but he was happy. He wasn't ready to go, and I wasn't ready to lose him. One Tuesday afternoon, I had to run to the auto parts store. I needed a specific filter for a client's car. I was gone for maybe 30 minutes, max. When I came back, the front gate was wide open. My heart stopped. Buster always waited for me on the porch. He wasn't there. The silence was deafening. Panic seized me. A cold, paralyzing fear. I ran down the street, calling his name. Buster, Buster. My voice cracked, my heart hammering against my ribs. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. The afternoon sun felt cold. I saw my neighbor, Sarah Jenkins, watering her roses. She was an older woman, kind but nosy. Sarah, have you seen Buster? I asked, breathless. Desperate. Sarah frowned, putting down her watering can. I did see him wander out about 20 minutes ago, Robert. The gate was wide open. I tried to call him, but you know he can't hear. She paused, lowering her voice, looking uncomfortable. I saw your son-in-law's car here just before that. I thought it was strange. He didn't stay long, Kevin. My blood froze. The fear turned into a cold dread. I searched for hours, driving up and down the streets, my fear growing with every passing minute, a cold dread spreading through my veins. He was old. He was deaf. He wouldn't survive out there alone. Then I got a call from the animal shelter. Mr. Harrison, we have your dog. Relief washed over me. Oh, thank God. Is he okay? A pause, a long, agonizing pause. He was found near the highway, sir. A car hit him. You need to get to the emergency vet clinic. Now. The world tilted. The phone slipped from my hand. I rushed to the emergency vet clinic. The smell of disinfectant burned my nostrils. I found him on the examination table. His body broken, his breathing shallow. I knelt beside him, holding his head in my lap, stroking his soft fur, the fur that Kevin hated. He looked at me. His cloudy, pain-filled eyes recognized me. A small whimper escaped his lips. The vet looked at me with pity. I'm so sorry, Mr. Harrison. There's nothing we can do. The internal injuries are too severe. I knew, looking into his eyes, that this was goodbye. I held him, whispering apologies, telling him he was a good boy, the best boy, until the end. I felt the life leave his body, a final, shuddering breath, and then silence. The pain was unbearable, a physical weight pressing down on my chest, suffocating me. I brought his ashes home, in a small wooden box. The silence in the house was absolute. I sat in my study, numb with sorrow, the wooden box on my desk. I knew deep in my gut that the gate hadn't been left open by accident. Sarah's words confirmed my fear. Kevin was here. Someone had wanted him gone. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think that anyone could be so cruel. But I had to know. I checked the security footage. From the porch camera, my hands trembled as I rewound the video. I pressed play, and I watched the truth unfold. There it was, 10 minutes after I left. Kevin's car pulling in. He walked out onto the porch. He looked around, checking the street, making sure no one was watching. Sarah must have seen him arrive, but not leave. Then he deliberately walked to the gate and unlatched it. He pulled it wide, an invitation, an execution. Then he did something that shattered my soul, that chilled me to the bone. He whistled sharply, a piercing sound in the quiet afternoon. He knew Buster, despite his deafness. It eventually sensed the movement, the vibration, the change in the air pressure, and wander out towards the street. Confused, looking for me, he didn't just let him out. He lured him out to his death. I watched him walk back to his car and drive away, a small, cruel smile playing on his lips. He didn't care. He just wanted him gone. An annoyance removed. The sheer, callous indifference to life was chilling. The cruelty was staggering. He wasn't just a thief. He was a monster. A sociopath. Later that evening, Emily and Kevin came over. They pretended to be sympathetic. False grief etched on their faces. They brought flowers, lilies. Susan hated lilies. "I'm so sorry, Robert," Kevin said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. He placed a hand on my shoulder. I flinched. "I know how much you love that dog." I looked at him, my eyes burning with rage. "How did the gate get open?" I asked, my voice trembling. With rage, with grief. I looked him straight in the eye. I knew, and he knew I knew. It must have blown open in the wind. Kevin lied smoothly, the lies sliding easily off his tongue. "Or maybe you forgot to latch it again, Robert. You've been forgetful lately." The gaslighting continued. "Even now." He paused, looking at the empty spot where Buster used to sleep. A calculated cruelty. His eyes glittered with malice. "But look," he continued, his voice cold and dismissive. "Maybe it's for the best. The dog was old and suffering anyway. Just another burden lifted. Really." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Good riddance, if you ask me. Good riddance." The words hit me like a physical blow. That was the moment the last flicker of hope died. The hope that I could reason with them. The hope that Emily was just misguided, and my daughter stood beside him, nodding in agreement. Blinded by his manipulation, or perhaps, just as cruel, lost to me. I realized then that this wasn't just about protecting my assets. It wasn't just about the house or the garage. It was about justice. For Buster, for me, for Sue. The grief turned into rage. A cold, burning rage that fueled me, that sharpened my focus. I was going to take him down. I was going to destroy him. The next day, I overheard Kevin on the phone in the backyard. I was in the garage. The Mustang's engine disassembled on the bench. "The old man is crumbling," he bragged. To whoever was on the other end, an investor, a creditor. The dog dying really broke him. He is vulnerable now. He's a mess. He laughed. A cold, cruel sound. "We're moving forward with the sale," he continued, pacing the lawn like he owned it. "Yeah, the Victorian on Elm Street. It's worth a fortune. I'll have the cash within a month." "The incompetence hearing with Dr. Thorne," he said dismissively. "It's just a backup now. He's too weak to fight." They were accelerating the plan. They thought I was broken. They were wrong. Dead wrong. I called Mark. They're moving fast. They think I'm weak. Mark was already on it. He had a contact at a real estate agency. He was monitoring the listings. I'm on it, Robert. We'll stop him. An hour later, he called me back, his voice tight with anger. Robert, you won't believe this, he said. Kevin listed your house. Today. He used forged preliminary documents. He somehow got a copy of your signature and pasted it onto the listing agreement. Listed my house. Without my consent. He found a buyer. Robert. A cash buyer. They're planning to close the deal this week. The audacity was staggering. They were selling my house right out from under me, while I was still living in it. But the real betrayal was still waiting in the shadows. Mark wasn't finished. He dug deeper. He always did. Mark investigated the cash buyer. It wasn't a legitimate investor. It was a shell corporation named Elm Street Holdings. Elm Street, my street. And guess who owned the shell corporation? Kevin. He wasn't just selling the house. He was transferring the title to himself. A sophisticated fraud operation. He was planning to take out a massive mortgage against it, cash out the equity, and then disappear, leaving me homeless, and the bank holding the bag. It was brilliant, evil, and illegal. It was time to end this. I took the evidence package from the Mustang, the hidden compartment, the video footage of Kevin practicing my signature, the audio of him admitting the plan to have me declared incompetent, mentioning Dr. Thorne, the footage of him opening the gate, whistling for Buster, Mark's report, the forged listing, the documents linking the shell corporation to Kevin. A mountain of evidence, undeniable. I didn't go to my regular lawyer, the family lawyer who handled Susan's estate. He was too soft, too trusting. I needed a shark. I found the sharpest fraud attorney in the city, a man named Mr. Davis. His office was sleek, modern, cold, just like him. His reputation preceded him, ruthless, relentless, expensive. I laid everything out on his desk, the files, the flash drive. He watched the videos, his face impassive, professional. But I saw the flicker of disgust in his eyes when he watched the footage of the gate, when he heard the whistle. Miss Harrison, he said, his voice precise and cold. They are attempting grand larceny, egregious fraud, and frankly, felony animal cruelty. He looked at me, his eyes sharp, intelligent. We also have enough here to ensure Dr. Thorne never practices medicine again. We have him on conspiracy to commit fraud. We need to contact the police immediately. We need to stop the sale. I know, I said, leaning forward, but I want him to walk into the trap. If we alert them now, he might run. He's desperate. He will disappear. I needed confrontation. I needed closure. I want to see his face, I admitted. When he realizes it's over, I want Emily to see who he really is. Davis hesitated, warning me of the risk. Allowing the fraud to proceed further was dangerous. Let's do it my way, I insisted. I want to confront them on my terms. The lawyer smiled grimly. A shark scenting blood in the water. We can arrange that, Mr. Harrison. We can definitely arrange that. We sent copies of everything to the fraud department and the district attorney's office. They reviewed the evidence. They were appalled and eager to prosecute. They introduced me to Detective Miller, a sharp woman specializing in elder fraud and abuse. She reviewed the evidence. She was horrified. We'll be there, Mr. Harrison, she promised. We'll wait for the lawyer's signal. I went home and waited. I sat on the porch, the spot where Buster used to lie in the sun. The wood felt cold under my hand. I felt a strange sense of calm. The calm before the storm. The engine was about to blow, and I was the one holding the detonator. Emily stopped by the day before the planned closing. She looked exhausted, the cracks in her perfect life beginning to show. The stress was taking its toll. Dad, please stop being so difficult, she begged, her voice strained. Desperate. Kevin is getting frustrated. He's under a lot of pressure. Frustrated, the understatement of the century. He says if you don't cooperate with the move, the transition will be painful, she continued, a veiled threat. Just sign the papers when they come. Please. Make it easy on yourself. I just looked at her, saying nothing. My silence unnerved her more than my anger ever did. I looked at the daughter I loved. The daughter I raised. And I saw a stranger. She left, her shoulders slumped in defeat. Or perhaps in guilt. I didn't know which one was worse. She was trapped by her own choices. 2 days later, they arrived. It was a bright, sunny afternoon. A cruel irony, a beautiful day for an execution. A black luxury sedan pulled into my driveway, undoubtedly leased. Kevin, Emily, and a nervous-looking man in a cheap suit carrying a briefcase. A notary, let's call him Stan. The final act of the play. The execution squad. I stayed seated on the porch, rocking gently in my chair, waiting. The old wood creaking rhythmically. Kevin strode up the steps, beaming with triumph. He looked like a man who had just conquered the world, arrogant, invincible. Emily hung back, her eyes red and swollen. She had been crying. She knew this was wrong, but she was too weak, too ensnared in his lies, to stop it. Robert, Kevin announced, his voice booming with arrogance. We have wonderful news. I just looked at him, letting the silence stretch, forcing him to walk into the trap, to face me. He signaled to Stan, the notary. Stan scurried forward, opening his briefcase on the porch railing. He pulled out a stack of documents. The final nail in my coffin. We finalized the sale of the house, Kevin said, spreading his arms wide, as if he already owned the place, as if I was already gone. We closed the deal this morning. The transfer is complete. He lied smoothly, the forged deed already filed, thinking he had outsmarted the old fool. I looked at the documents, the culmination of his deception, the forged signatures. And where am I supposed to live, Kevin? I asked quietly, playing the role of the defeated old man one last time. We've taken care of everything, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. We've arranged a lovely room for you at Oakwood Manor. Oakwood Manor. A nursing home. A place where people go to die. It's a very respectable facility, he continued, smiling that hollow smile. They have activities. Bingo nights. You'll be comfortable there. He pulled out a brochure. A gilded cage. We packed a few of your things, he added, gesturing towards the sedan. They are in the trunk. We are taking you there now. They were discarding me, erasing me from my own life, just like they erased Buster. So that's it, I said, my voice trembling with emotion, not with fear, but with rage. You steal my home, you put me away, and you walk away with everything. It's for the best, Dad, Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. A mix of guilt and relief. Please don't fight us. It's done. Tight, I stood up slowly. My legs steady, my resolve firm. I looked at my daughter. I didn't recognize her. Greed and manipulation had hollowed her out. I looked at Kevin. His eyes glittered with victory. He thought he had won. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who knew the engine was seized, and the transmission was shot. Perfect, I said, my voice clear and strong. Kevin looked surprised, relieved. He thought I had finally surrendered, accepted my fate. Good, he said, reaching for my arm. I'm glad you're finally being reasonable. Let's go. Oh, absolutely, I agreed, pulling my arm away. But we should make a stop first. A stop? Where? Kevin asked, confused. The arrogance wavered, the first crack in the facade. The police station, I said, my voice ringing with cold clarity. They're very interested in what I sent them about you, Kevin, and about Dr. Thorne. Kevin's face went white. The blood drained from his cheeks, leaving a sickly gray pallor. The arrogance vanished, replaced by sheer terror. What are you talking about? He stammered, taking a step back, looking wildly around for an escape route, a way out. The forgery, Kevin, I said, advancing on him, my voice rising, the rage finally unleashed. The fraud, Elm Street Holdings. The cameras, I saw everything. I saw you practicing my signature. I paused, letting the words sink in, twisting the knife, And I saw you open the gate, I roared, the pain of Buster's death tearing through me. I saw you whistle for Buster. You monster. Kevin's facade crumbled completely. The mask shattered, revealing the monster underneath. You're crazy, he shrieked. You're delusional. The deed is filed. The house is mine. Stan, the notary, slowly backed away, shaking his head. I don't want any part of this, he stammered, pale and trembling. I witnessed the signatures. That's all. I didn't know they were forged. He's lying, Kevin screamed, turning to Emily, grabbing her arms roughly. Tell him, Emily, tell him he's crazy. Tell him he's making it all up. Emily was sobbing uncontrollably, the reality of the situation crashing down on her, the illusion of her perfect husband shattering into a million pieces. Kevin, she whispered, her eyes wide with horror, her voice broken. Buster, what did you do? You told me the gate was open. Just then, 2 police cars pulled into the driveway, lights flashing silently, blocking the sedan. The trap closed. My lawyer, Mr. Davis, stepped out of the first car, followed by Detective Miller, stern, serious, and holding handcuffs. Kevin made a break for it, a desperate animal caught in a trap. He vaulted over the porch railing, sprinted towards the backyard, towards the fence. He didn't get far. 2 uniformed officers intercepted him near the garage, tackling him to the ground. The sound of the impact was satisfying. They handcuffed him and dragged him towards the police car. He was screaming curses, fighting against the inevitable. The monster finally caged, and I watched him go. The man who killed my dog, the monster who destroyed my family. Detective Miller approached me. Mr. Harrison, we've frozen the title transfer. The house is secure. The DA is thrilled. She looked at me with respect. We have enough evidence to charge him with multiple felonies. Fraud, forgery, grand larceny, elder abuse, and animal cruelty. We also arrested Dr. Thorne this morning. He folded immediately, confessed everything. She paused. Kevin is going away for a long time, sir. I nodded, the weight finally lifting from my chest. The air felt cleaner, lighter. Justice. I turned to Emily. She was standing alone on the porch, trembling, broken, the wreckage of her choices surrounding her. Dad, she whispered, reaching out to me, her face streaked with tears. I'm so sorry. He manipulated me. He lied to me. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know about Buster. I swear, Dad. I loved Buster. The excuses. The denial. Even now. You knew, I said, my voice heavy with an unbearable sadness. The sadness of a father who had lost his daughter. You knew it was wrong, Emily. You stood by him when he tried to make me doubt my own mind. When he froze me in my own home. I looked at her, searching for the daughter I once knew. And you ignored the cruelty, I added, the pain of her betrayal twisting in my heart. Because it served your purpose. Because you wanted the money. The life he promised you. Please, forgive me, she begged, falling to her knees on the porch steps. A dramatic gesture. Too little, too late. I want to come home, Daddy. Please let me come home. Don't leave me alone. I love you, Emily. I always will, I said, the words tearing me apart, my own eyes filling with tears, the grief returning. But the trust is broken, completely broken. I looked at the house, my home. You made your choice. Now you have to live with the consequences. You can't come home. Not now. Maybe not ever. The words hung in the air. Final. Absolute. The police took her statement. She wasn't arrested, but she was implicated in the fraud. Her name was on the forged documents. Her life, the lavish life she had dreamed of, was over. The fallout was swift. The house was secure. The garage was safe. Kevin's creditors came crawling out of the woodwork. He was going to prison. Dr. Thorne lost his license. Emily filed for divorce. She had nothing left. No money. No home. No husband. She had to move into a small apartment across town, find a job, start over. We haven't spoken since that day. I sat on my porch the next evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The house was safe, It was quiet again, but the emptiness felt different. It felt heavy, but clean. The rot had been excised. Mark joined me, carrying 2 beers. He sat in the chair beside me, the old wood creaking comfortably. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to, just sat there, a comforting presence. "To Buster," he said finally, raising his bottle, his voice rough with emotion. "To Justice," I replied, clinking my bottle against his. We sat in silence, watching the sunset. The silence was comfortable now. Peaceful. I missed my daughter terribly. A constant ache in my chest. A wound that might never heal. But I knew I had done the right thing. Some betrayals are too deep to repair quickly. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. I had survived. I had fought back. And I had won. A few weeks later, I went to the animal shelter, the place where I learned about Buster's fate. I wasn't planning on getting another dog. It felt too soon. I walked past the cages, the sound of barking filling the air, hope and desperation mixed together. In the last cage, the small, scruffy terrier mix was sitting quietly, looking at me with big, intelligent brown eyes. He looked lonely, lost, broken, just like me. He looked like a survivor, a fighter. I knelt down. He wagged his tail tentatively, pressing his nose against the wire. "Well, there," I said softly. "I adopted him. I named him Sparky, spark of hope in the darkness. A mechanic's dog." As I walked out of the shelter, Sparky licked my hand, his tail wagging furiously. I realized that even after the deepest betrayal, the darkest night, life finds a way to start again. To heal, to rebuild. I was a mechanic. I fixed things that were broken, and this time I had fixed my own life. The engine was humming smoothly again, ready for the road ahead, wherever it might lead. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, 'cause your time matters.